Okay, it's September 19th, 2024, and I'm sitting speaking with Mr. John Jeckovich today about his book, Their Mother's Sons, that he wrote approximately 25 years ago. It's about 900 pages, and we're on chapter 17, page 517, docu-series 341. It's the news of Renee's tragic death. At this point, Mr. Jeckovich was already home from the war, and he's back living on 3063 Orleans Avenue. For those that don't know, Mr. Jeckovich was with Company H, 2nd Battalion, 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich's motto in life as a boy and still now at almost 100 years old: yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's how Mr. Jeckovich lives his life. Before I start reading, Mr. Jeckovich, what is your dog tag number?
965.
Okay, that opened up the reading. Did you feel like reading today your book?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You want to read it?
No, go ahead, you read it.
Do you feel up to answering any text questions?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let me give you a few. Like 25 came in. The other day, there was over 10,000 listeners to one of your recordings, but I'm going to just take the top about the war. Here we go. What was the cause of World War II, Mr. Jeckovich?
Germans were pissed off.
And what were the Germans doing?
Starting wars all over.
They started in Poland and didn't stop.
Yeah.
What countries fought in World War II, Mr. Jeckovich?
Most of the countries in Europe fought in that war, yeah.
Okay. Without the American military, the war wouldn't have been won.
Military and what they had to offer, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the American military and all the resources the United States gave. What was the turning points of World War II?
It wasn't a battle of the Bulge.
What was the turning point
The turning point?
of World
They
War?
dropped the bomb.
Okay. Why did Adolf Hitler start World War II?
Why did he start? Because he was pissed off we got the wrong deal before that.
I see. And did Pearl Harbor attack signal the beginning of World War for the United States?
Yes.
So on December 7th, 1941, when the Japanese borrowed Pearl Harbor, instead of the United States being on a Lend-Lease program and supplying billions of dollars to the war effort, they put all their men in.
Yeah.
It was all or nothing. Mm-hmm. They said World War I was the war to end all wars.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
The same thing this was in all wars too. World War II.
As long as the earth and people can remember, there's been wars, and unfortunately, for next thousands of years, if the earth survives, we're going to continue to have war.
Yeah.
We'll never, ever be without war. Never be out without war. And many people think the only friend to the wars are funeral directors and funeral homes, but there was a lot of inside deals going on in every war. The ones that are connected to the right people are supplying the guns, the jeeps, the trucks, the logistical aspects. A lot of families in the United States are making millions and millions of dollars off of every war. So it's just not funeral homes that are making money. It's a lot of families that are connected to the right people. War brings destruction and heartbreak everywhere, but everyone says there has to be a better way besides war, but no one found it. No one found a better way besides war. There's always going to be wars.
Diplomacy.
Yeah.
That never worked.
Yeah. Well, right now we have, I don't know, 25 or 30,000 diplomats, and if the diplomats do their job properly and are educated enough to do their jobs properly and invest some times, there won't be a particular war. They could smooth things out. But once the talking stops, then the gun starts firing.
Yeah.
Once the talking stops
They start
with
complaining,
diplomats,
yeah.
then the guns start firing. Then there'll be nothing but destruction. Yeah. They say, we must fight to keep our freedom, but so far, no one knows a better way. Fighting will always be there to keep your freedom.
Yeah.
And no one has a better way. It just does not exist. In order to keep your freedom, you have to fight, and it's been going on for thousands of years, and maybe someday.
Everybody's looking for something to grab from you.
What's that?
Everybody's looking for something to grab from you.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we're back to square one. Wars are the way to keep your freedom, and in this atomic age, it might be really big trouble. It might be a lot of big trouble. So, we're going to talk about that. And we're almost out of chapter 17. And I'd like to put this one behind us. You want me to start reading chapter 17?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Chapter 17 is news of Renee's tragic death. We would drive around at times, enjoying one another's company, and it was during these times I felt truly myself. I would talk freely with her, voice my honest opinion on various subjects, and marvel at my inclination to verbalize. I was heartened by my sense of accomplishment and semblance of well-being it generated, and it was like a breath of fresh air and a wholeness to my being. It also did much for my self-esteem. Of course, Valerie was not Jean or Anne or even Renee. In one respect, she enjoyed our friendship of meeting her many friends in the plush, sophisticated clubs and lounges that were scattered throughout the greater Buffalo area. Well, there's a new one on me. I thought we're talking about another lady, but now we're talking about Valerie. Who's Valerie?
Yeah, Valerie.
Who's Valerie?
Valerie Young.
What's about her?
She's an insider trying to get inside.
Okay. Where'd you meet Valerie?
Where do I meet Valerie?
Yeah.
Probably in a meeting or something.
Okay. Well, let me keep on reading. Now we got Jean, Anne, Rose, Renee, Valerie. Okay, I'm losing track of all these ladies. But let's see. The aspect of her personality would always make me feel uneasy and apprehensive, for I felt somehow I did not fit into her lifestyle. I was clumsy and unskilled in the midst, and I believe Valerie sensed it. That was probably why she avoided contact with them, and when she was with me. Naturally, I felt ill at ease when we would only drive around or listen to the music on the radio or simply converse with one another. I do not believe Valerie felt as I did under these circumstances, for she would dispel any notion on my part quickly and with much compassion. She really cared to be with me, and if that meant driving around and just talking, then so be it. At times we'd go to their house and listen to the radio, dance in the living room, or just sit on the couch talking quietly, close to one another, enjoying one another's warmth and friendship. Her mother would be present for a short period, talk freely and warmly, offer us some refreshments, and sit in with us. Do you remember Valerie's mother?
Yeah.
Was she a Polish lady?
A what?
Was Valerie's mother a Polish lady?
Yeah.
Did she have an accent?
Had an accent, yeah.
So she was a nice lady.
A nice lady.
Yes. After a while, I felt at ease under these circumstances and often wondered why my own mother could not act like this. So you're wondering why your mother wasn't that way, open and friendly to people, right?
Well,
So what? You wondered that, right? It says right here. You wondered why your mother wasn't like Valerie's mother, open and
Yeah.
friendly to people.
well, that's a different culture,
Yeah.
different personality.
Yeah. Valerie's mother was almost up against the same situation my mother was in. She had lost her husband early in life and had to manage on her own. She raised 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl, and all had been to college, 2 through the GI Bill of Rights, and Valerie through the student loans and summer jobs, plus her mother's assistance. What made the situation so terribly different from my family? I kept asking myself, and I could come to no conclusive answer. I had seen the very same outcome in Ann's family and marveled at it. I did not as I did now several years later. The more I thought about it, the more despondent I became and would finally attempt to put it out of my mind and enjoy the present state, even thought it was for only a short period. After Valerie's mother would retire, we would turn the lights down low, turn the radio down a bit, and sit back and enjoy the music and the mood of it. What kind of music would you sit down and listen to?
Glenn Miller.
Glenn Miller and big bands.
Yeah.
Okay. Glenn Miller is still playing on the radio today, even though he left this earth as a Air Force pilot in his early 30s or so, mid 30s. I'm sorry. Let's see. I would hold her hand and we embraced and kissed. My mind was closed to everything but was transpiring at the moment. I forgot that we would be waiting for me that night when I got home. Oh, I forgot what would be waiting for me that night when I got home late. The displeasure and outburst of my mother and the indignation it would still instill on me. You're a strange person, Valerie. Valerie said to you. You're a strange person, Valerie whispered as I leaned over her, her breast firmly implanted onto my chest. I did not think I could ever figure it out, she exclaimed, brushing a lick of hair from my forehead. I kissed her gently and sat up, taking her hand in mine. I kissed her and murmured, "Don't feel bad. I have a hard time with that also. I've been at it longer than you." She smiled and said something which took me by complete surprise. What would you think about becoming a dance instructor?
A dance?
Dance instructor.
Who are you?
Valerie said to you, what would you think of you becoming a dance instructor?
I didn't think it was a good case, but I wound up being one.
Okay, tell us about that.
Was in that.
Tell us about it.
Was in that dance group, and she was a dancer.
Fred Astaire's?
Yeah,
Arthur Murray.
Arthur Murray?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
tell-
it wasn't Arthur Murray. No.
Fred Astaire's?
No.
Well, tell us about your dance instructing days.
She was my dance instructor. She said, "Well, you're doing good now." I said, "Would you want to get into a group?" I said, "No, I'm not made up like that."
Okay.
He said, "Well, you'd be good." I said, "You got the rhythm, you got the stuff to do it, the personality."
So how did it turn out?
Well, I got to be a dance instructor
For how long?
for about 6 weeks, and that was it.
Did you meet a lot of nice girls?
Oh yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but that was dead end.
Okay. Why do you say that was a dead end?
Well, those girls I could never connect with.
Okay. We have a policy at the studio that we approach students we think would make good instructors, and your name came up several times. This is not on my personal recommendation, but I approved of it, being your instructor. It came from the staff and added they're waiting for my reaction. I was taken back by her statement at first, and I thought she was teasing me a bit. But after a while, I knew she was serious, and I questioned her further. She asked if I noticed another couple in the room with us from time to time, as I was getting my lesson. I thought a bit and agreed I had thinking that they were just another couple getting a dance lesson. She went on to reiterate that the couple were the studio supervisors in charge of the instructors and their training. Evidently, they were impressed with your demeanor and dance ability, and they wanted to pursue it further. Valerie said, I was elected to approach you on the subject and how you felt about the prospect. She went on sitting sideways to me so that she could see my reaction. Strangely, I did not feel flattered, as I knew instinctively that I would never do it. And secondly, I would never be able to cope with it at home. It was too alien and bizarre for me to even contemplate it. I dismissed it rather abruptly, and nothing more was said about it. We sat there close to one another, and as the radio dulled out, here we go, some Glenn Miller's music, here we go. I became absorbed in a nostalgic reverie, harking back to Ann's living room a long time ago. Ann is a lady from Owensboro, Kentucky, so you listen to Glenn Miller with her also. Are you asleep? Valerie whispered, touching my arm as she moved to a more comfortable position. I turned and brought her down on the couch, our bodies together. No read. Censored. Okay, I entered the final third of my 24-hour course. Valerie and I were seeing each other almost daily, except when I worked afternoons. So you're working at Kimberly-Clark then?
Yeah.
Boy, you were doing a lot of things. Going to Buffalo for dance lesson, taking care of your mother, visiting Valerie, and working shift work.
Yeah.
You're on the go.
And inside job, put wallpaper up and everything.
Yeah. Then I would manage a Saturday or Sunday after work. Mother and I got used to me going to Buffalo, and she would chide me at every opportunity, using every device possible to torment me. Your mother. Despite her outburst, I remained resolute in my convictions, even though it took a great deal out of me. Did your mother know you were going to Buffalo for dance lessons?
Yeah.
Did she? Oh my God, I'm surprised she didn't give you a lot more trouble. Let's see. Even though it took a great deal out of me, with her constant bickering at me, no wonder I'd seek a safe haven with Valerie. There were times when I was home later than Lookie, but he never once remarked about it and looked as if unconcerned on his part and let it go that. Mother was a big concern, for she never let it go. It was always the same sharp, devastating outburst, eruption, which would last anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour, and then blissful silence, which was just as destructive after a while as the emotional mayhem. At times I believed in my early teens rather than in my mid-20s from my ridicule and derisive behavior I received from Mother. It would take its toll on my self-esteem and mental anguish it bestowed on me. The long ride to Buffalo would have a calming effect on me, and by the time I would get to greet Valerie, I was reasonably subdued and relatively adjusted to concentrate on the dance lessons.
Arthur Murray.
What?
That was Arthur Murray dance.
Yeah, Arthur Murray.
Yeah.
So your mother did not like that idea.
Well, that idea never came up before.
How would your mother like Valerie?
Negative.
Negative. Okay. In a way, I was sorry I had signed up for a lengthy 24 hours instead of 10 or 15. It was too much of a hardship mentally as well as emotionally. I was bridging too much of a social gap, and I had difficulty balancing the chasm that separated two worlds.
Company, Dave.
What's it? Hey, how you doing?
Am
Hi.
I interrupting?
What's that?
Am I interrupting?
No, not at all.
I just came to check on you.
He's doing fine.
I see.
Yeah.
Do you have any laundry? I have you down for laundry, to pick up your
What?
laundry today.
Laundry, you have
Could
any
you
laundry?
come back in about 10 minutes?
Sure. Is
Possible.
that okay?
This chapter will be done in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
All right.
Which one?
Laundry. Laundry. They're gonna do your laundry, yeah.
The laundry, she took it.
Okay, let's just continue reading. We'll worry about that laundry later. Okay, for the two worlds were opposite, were a state of conflict. From the meager household I lived in and the dull, monotonous job I had to the life I experienced with Valerie. So the life with Valerie is much more exciting. It resolved itself into being all petty and inconsequential. There was no importance or significance and deserved consideration to anything I was doing. It was always brought home to me quite forcibly whenever I strode from the narrow path that my life was an entire being. It would manifest itself greatly when we go out occasionally on a double date. It would be a humbling experience for me. All of Valerie's friends were college graduates, and naturally they dated someone of their own stature and background. Her friends would date attorneys just starting out, or stockbrokers, or junior business executives. They were all recently out of school for several years and still in the primarily stages of their careers. But they all had something in common I was lacking: a social orientation and outlook that was cultivated only through a vigorous and demanding social life, schooling, and prestige work. They would talk of their work day, which was altogether dissimilar to mine. I would listen and formulate in my mind that what I did that day, and humbly and meekly would permeate through me until it was almost become a burdensome and repellent. They were not pretentious, but only reacting in their normal fashion, something similar to my peer group at work, only in a different perspective. I did not really enjoy their company, primarily because I felt inferior with the other group at work. I had the same reaction, for a different reason. I felt superior in convoluted fashion. Each group was diametrically opposite, and it was here that I struggled to sustain my equilibrium. Okay, as this pulling in each direction became more intense, I realized that I would not resolve it in the manner I was going about. I accelerated the dance lessons, sometimes taking 2 a week, and finally concluded them in several months ahead of schedule. I did not diminish seeing Valerie, but almost insisted on seeing her alone and not on a double date arrangement. She thought us peculiar, but respected my idiosyncrasies, and she called it, but never pressed the issue. Looking back on it, I did not realize at a time that my insistence on not double dating was an embryo and of our reason for departing. We saw each other quite a while after I completed my lessons and enjoyed each other's company immensely. We would go to concerts, stage plays, occasional movies, and a picnic in the summer, tobogganing, and ice skating in the winter. Were you a good ice skater?
I was a good ice skater, yeah.
Where were you on December 7th, 1941?
I'd go quick.
And what were you doing there?
Ice skating on a Fulton Creek.
And that's exactly such in your memory, because that's when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor.
December 7th, yeah.
Okay. My stomach did somersault, and I straightened up abruptly, tense all over and apprehensive of the news she was relating. She leaned over, kissed me gently, and murmured, "Nothing serious, you idiot, so don't get all tensed up." She consoled me, taking my hand and putting it to her cheek. She consoled me, taking my hand and putting it to her cheek. "You're trying to get him to become an instructor, and it was left to me to try to convince..."
Who's she tell that to?
Some guy she's seeing, telling him to be an instructor, and stated matter-of-factly, a slight tremor in her voice. You tried that on me and it wasn't too successful. I chimed in. She smiled and leaned her head on my shoulder. Do you want to dance? She asked, taking my arm as she arose from the couch. We danced for a while and I held her and I held a strange feeling that this was all coming to an end. All coming to an end. I would be back to where I started from. I saw Valerie regularly and had completely forgotten about that evening when she told me that she was seeing somebody else. It never entered my mind again, and I never queried her regarding it. 1 week after several distressful days at home and a couple of crazy days at work, I drove to Buffalo to visit Valerie until she got out of work. I had seen her several days prior to that and was supposed to see her on my long weekend coming up. I felt despondent and depressed and wanted to see her quickly and change my mood. I was seeking such a change as I pulled up several buildings away from the studio. So now you're parking like a couple blocks from the dance studio. Okay. All right, let's see what the hell happens next. You pull up a couple blocks away from the studio. As I did not tell her I was coming, so you're going to surprise her, right?
Yeah.
As I did not tell her I was coming to see her that night. Minutes, please.
3.
I better read fast. I was especially alert so I would not miss her. It was several minutes until she would leave the studio, so I settled back and attempted to rid myself of the despondent mood I had gotten into. Work was especially frustrating that week, and I did not want to even dwell on it. With all the shutdowns and constant startups, and always the threat of not having a relief for your particular job, if a relief didn't come, you had to stay working?
Yeah.
Okay. Necessitating you having to work over for at least 4 hours, if not longer. I did not exchange too much of my work aspect with Valerie, as I felt uncomfortable talking about it. Conditions at home are almost in the same category, and I imagine she perceived I was having difficulty there also, for she never pressed me on the issue. As I thought about it sitting in the car, I was a secret of a good part of my life from the view and taking it for granted that it would not affect her or determine her judgment regarding me. As for her, she was open and above board. I had been to her house on numerous occasions and talked with her mother many times. And certainly I knew all about her work experience. When I thought about it fully, minutes?
2.
We did not have much in common. Outside of our mutual attraction for one another, but it seemed sufficient to sustain our relationship. I enjoyed being with her, and it filled the empty void in my life. Without her would be dull and lacking any real or meaningful significance. I thought about the time she wanted me to be a dance instructor, and perhaps it was her subtle way of trying to coax me into her world, and I did not realize it. It also reminded me of the restrictions I put on her regarding the double dating she was prone to favor, and I felt completely ill at ease with. She understood me regarding it. Instead of forcing the issue, she went along with my penchant for isolation, nullifying my inclination.
Minute and 10 seconds.
All in all, I marveled at the lengthy and fruitful relationship we had, almost 2 years, where she never once voiced an objection about any of these matters, nor should she ever make an issue out of them. I did not know what the future held for us, but I did realize I was getting a sense of false security that would go on indefinitely. Without a change on either of our parts, I wanted to continue. I wanted to continue with Valerie. I did not contemplate or fully realize what Valerie's thoughts were on this entire subject. We discussed it, but we're with each other to talk to such basic necessities as work or even social standings on how we earned a living. As I sat there, the same feeling overcame me that I felt once at Owensboro in England and France. Things would have to progress. They could not just stand still. I was confronted with the same dilemma once again. It was more intense now. I did not have the Army moving me about and making
5 seconds.
decisions for me. It was left up to me. I was a